This past week was Star Wars Celebration, and that means we got a lot of cool reveals, a lot of juicy information, and a lot of stupendous moments. That also means I have a lot I want to talk about right now, so let's get straight to it. Note first that I'm only really addressing the big announcements and trailers because otherwise I'd be here all day. First up, we found out that there will be 3 new Star Wars movies being made in the next few years. First, we have James Mangold writing and directing a movie all about the first Jedi, the very first person to wield the Force, set 25,000 years before the other movies, and that's interesting and worrisome. It could be cool. It could be very interesting to see the origins of the Force and the Jedi. My worry is that if you go so far in the past, at what point does it stop resembling Star Wars? Star Wars is science fiction. If you take the futuristic sci-fi elements away, is it still Star Wars? Regardless, there's no confirmation on whether it will take place in a sci-fi universe anyway, but 25,000 years is a long time ago. Plus, Mangold is a great director and writer. He doesn't make bad movies, so this is a really good choice. Next, we have a movie written and directed by Dave Filoni, the creator of The Clone Wars and Rebels and co-creator of The Mandalorian. We've all wanted Dave to have the reins on its own movie, and we're finally getting it. It'll be the culmination of the story threads developed in The Mandalorian, Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett, and seemingly a movie that will bring Thrawn in as the main villain. More on him later though. Dave hasn't directed a movie before, outside of the animated Clone Wars movie, which wasn't great. But he knows Star Wars better than anyone, and he just gets it. So I have faith. I have hope. The final movie is an interesting one, set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. Rey Skywalker, or Palpatine if you prefer, is back, this time starting a new Jedi Order. And of course that means Daisy Ridley is back too. Great news, I love that character and I really like Daisy. It's being written and directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, making her first female director of a Star Wars movie, as well as the first Muslim director of anything Star Wars, I think. Call me out on that one if I'm wrong. It's actually written by Stephen Knight, best known for Peaky Blinders, a show I don't like. So this sounds like the start of a new trilogy? Is this episode 10? Will other characters like Finn and Poe be in it? I hope so. This sounds like a good opportunity to correct some mistakes, and they really should jump at that opportunity. The 15-year time jump is interesting depending on how soon they get this movie made. I'm not entirely convinced Daisy will look old enough. Good for her, risky for the movie. I also don't like Stephen Knight's work in TV. They're just not for me, so that has me a little worried too. As for the other movies, Taika Waititi is still in development, he's writing it himself, which is new information because last we heard, someone else was writing it. Rian Johnson's trilogy is not in development right now, but the door is open for a possible return someday. I guess he's just too busy with Daniel Craig right now. And Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron is also on hold, but could get made one day too. Apparently these 3 new movies are well on their way though. And they'll be the next movies that we get. That could mean they're coming sooner rather than later. Who knows? With these new movies announced, we also have official confirmation of some new Star Wars time periods. There's of course the furthest in the future, the New Jedi Order. The one in the past, the Dawn of the Jedi, but most curious is the inclusion of the Old Republic. We knew this period existed. It's been mentioned in books and comics with some references in animation and TV too, but there's currently no canonical story set in that time period. Interesting. There's a remake of Knights of the Old Republic video game in development, or there was until rumors say it was reevaluated and maybe got a new developer. So maybe this period refers to that? Again, who knows, but very curious to see this included in the canon timeline despite having no actual content yet. Ahsoka is getting her own live action show, we knew that already, but we now have an awesome new trailer featuring live action Sabine and Hera, as well as teasing live action Thrawn. Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera is great, I really like her. Sabine looks cool too. Lars Mikkelsen is back as Thrawn. I'll be honest, Thrawn has always been one of my favourite Star Wars characters and villains. When reading the original Thrawn trilogy of books, I had a very clear idea of who he was in my head. Lars sadly just isn't my Thrawn, but I've yet to see a live action version of him, so I'll give him a chance. He was okay as the voice in Rebels, Just again, not my throne. Either way, I'm super excited for this and the show. The show looks very interesting. New Sith characters, I believe they're old Inquisitors. Lots of action, Ezra's in there too, or Jabba if you prefer. There's a lot of talk about, a lot of digest, and just not a lot of time to do that. It looks like a live action continuation of Rebels. It also quoted Heir to the Empire, which is the first book in the Thrawn trilogy. Here's hoping they're sort of adapting that book to an extent. Andor is returning for season 2 next year. It's a long wait, sadly. We also know the Bad Batch is getting one last season as well. Not a lot more about those shows right now though. I'm glad Bad Batch is ending, it feels right. Plus, the Lando show with Donald Glover is still happening at some point. Although by the time we get to it, Donald will no longer be the young Lando and instead just be a new, different Lando. I'm fine with that, but Billy D. Williams will always be Lando Calrissian. The Acolyte is the Star Wars show set in the High Republic period. Really cool, the High Republic is awesome so far. It's apparently Frozen meets Kill Bill, which is a very unusual mix I never thought I'd see or hear. We now know very little about this show. Rumours are abundant though, and we do know we'll be getting a live action Vanessa role in it, as an adult. Interesting. Vanessa is one of my favourites in the High Republic. I guess we now know she survives the story of the books. Sad about the spoiler there, but I'm not sure what to think of this. I'd rather say new characters, especially considering this is many years after the story of the books thus far. There's also Skeleton Crew, a much more family-friendly Star Wars show from the maker of the recent Spider-Man movies. They keep mentioning Amblin and The Goonies as inspirations, which are really great examples to point out. This could be fun, but it's also the most nebulous one right now, with very little known about it beyond who's directing and writing, and that Jude Law is in it. There'll be a new season of Tales of the Jedi, presumably this or next year. Cool, I liked half of the first season, and there's another season of Visions on the way too, which had a really cool trailer release as well. It looks like they're pushing the animation styles further this time. It's not just Japanese anime, but a much larger variety in style. Really cool stuff. And finally, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is right around the corner. It looks very good, and we now know we can go to Coruscant in it. Those are the major bits and bobs from Star Wars Celebration. I really had a lot of FOMO watching from the sidelines, aka Twitter. I tried getting tickets though, but after an hour in the queue, I got my chance only to discover they were sold out. Not cool. Anyway, that's what I thought of the big announcements and reveals this year. Let me know your thoughts below, and of course subscribe, like and follow me, and offer your own topics in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Maybe we'll see you next year in Japan. Let's not build our hopes up on that.